Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the MZ0602 In Space Astro Megazord from the Power Rangers Lightning Collection Zord Ascension project from Hasbro. So this came out a fair amount of time ago and I was really just waiting for a sale for this one. It kind of looks nice. A lot of people have been complaining though about some of the clips breaking, and that made me really just not want to pay full price for this. But on Tuesday, Hasbro put this up as part of their Power Days sales. So 35% off, I decided to finally bite the bullet. It was around $100. The box is very impressive. I love the look of this. We have this kind of slip cover. So the front of the box is the Astro Megazord head. But then the slip cover kind of like integrates perfectly and has this like kind of like technical, you know, version over top. It's just really, really neat. The packaging on this whole thing is really cool, and we'll go all through that. Over here we have a nice picture of the Astro Megazord itself. Then we have some really cool stylized artwork for the Astro Megazord. This looks really fantastic. And then on the back here, it kind of just gives you a little rundown of everything that's included. So of course we have the Astro Megazord itself, which is 14.5 inches tall, so he's a big boy. Over here shows all the accessories. You get 6 different hands, so 3 sets of hands. You get a giant sword, a shield. You get the like spaceship booster / gun. You get these 5 little figurines here. Of course, the ship itself, then the shuttle here. And it just shows some of the features. There's a couple places where you can open up and see the Rangers inside. So that's kind of cool. It's really neat. Like I said, it's a really hefty box too. I mean, it's really solid. And I'll go through it a little bit here. We'll slide the slip cover off. So we'll pop this off of here. And I apologize. The box is massive, so trying to keep it in frame all the time is virtually impossible. But I'll do my best. So here is just the Astro Megazord head. I keep wanting to call it Astro Megaship, which I mean technically isn't wrong, but this is the Megazord mode. So here's the Megazord head very nicely here on the front. The sides are the same, but then over here on the back, you have this kind of like metallic sheen. Mine's got a little scratch or something right there. There we go. This is kind of this really neat like metallic blue sheen that it's got to it here. I really like that quite a bit. So, and this is a really solid box. This feels like a box for like a hefty board game or something like that. It's a really thick cardboard stock. Very nice. So if we go ahead and pop this lid off, which is easier said than done because it's very tight. So it's very, you have to kind of let the air get in there. So let's move the lid off. I don't even have anywhere to put all this stuff. All right. That's going to knock everything around. That's okay. So now, on the inside here, we have all this kind of like holofoil cardboard, some diagnostics and readouts and things. Kind of looks like a screen inside the Astro Megaship, which is kind of cool. Not really any detailing on this box on the sides or on the top or anything. But if we pop this out, so this is a little cardboard tray. So this is like one of those puzzles where there's just so many layers before you can actually get to the toy. So inside here, the actual Astro Megaship was in this little bag. So it is plastic-free packaging, so this is kind of where it starts to get a little bit less fancy. But it was inside this little bag here. And then underneath here is the section where you pull this out. And then you have all the little accessories. So the gun piece, I think, was in here. The little figurines were in here. The head shuttle piece was in here. And then this is all your hand options. The sword was in this little piece here. This comes out. And the sword was in there. And I think the instructions were in the side there as well. So there's a lot going on with this thing. There's a lot of layers. But it's really intricate packaging, and I think it's really well done. Everything's got its own little compartment. Everything works pretty well, and that all sits back in there pretty nicely. So I like it. I mean, the outside of it is absolutely beautiful. The inside is pretty functional. Has nice little compartments for everything. So if you want to keep the box and maybe you don't need all the hand options or the little figurines or the sword or something, you could easily store everything back in here pretty easily, which is really nice. And it's a good, solid box. So I definitely think it's worth keeping. And it would be perfect for storage if, you know, you need to put this thing back in shuttle mode. You could easily get it back in the box here. So very cool. I really like the packaging, but let's go ahead and check out everything that's inside. So here's everything that's included in the box. I'll go through all these little kind of superfluous pieces first, and then we'll get to the ship itself. So first up, we have a set of tiny little Rangers, And these don't really, in my opinion, need to be included. I mean, if you really wanted to just kind of have him in robot mode on a shelf and then put the 5 of them in front just for a fun little scale thing. But there's a couple places in the ship where they're actually inside piloting it, and these don't get put into the ship. They're already in there. They're kind of glued and stuck in there. So these are just extras. But here is a super tiny little in-space red. And there's not a ton of detail here. You don't really even have like anything on the helmet. Maybe there's the tiniest little detail on there. It's really hard to tell, but they're very, very small. Here is the Black Ranger. You can really tell no detail on him. Here is the Blue Ranger. And then we have the Yellow Ranger. So you can see the sculpt is different because she has a skirt. And I know a lot, you can see on the bottom, they're like a little messed up. I really don't know if these are all the same thing and they were painted or what. But I got lucky. I've seen a lot of people where they put the plastic in the wrong mold and they wound up with like female Black Rangers or female Red Rangers or female Blue Rangers. I got lucky and all the ones are the correct, you know, pink and yellow are girls and the other 3 are guys. I mean, these are neat. I honestly, I don't need them personally. I don't think they serve any purpose, but, you know, they're kind of a tiny little fun thing. So I'm going to put them off to the side. That's the end for them. This is what we want to get into. This is the exciting part. Here is the shuttle, which I think looks really good, nicely painted and everything. And as I was saying before, you can actually open this up, and they are inside there piloting it. So again, you don't put the other ones in there. And it looks like you can even see like there's some extra glue. Maybe I can try to clean that out, but Pink's kind of sitting in some glue there. But in any case, they're in there piloting it. I guess that's a sticker on the back, or maybe it's painted. I really can't tell. Let me see. It's probably a sticker. But it looks cool, and it's a fun little thing. I like that quite a bit. So you don't have to try to put these inside. They have their own little spot. And there's a spot on the Astro Megaship as well that I'll show off in a moment. But yeah, this is obviously going to be the head. You can kind of see the head poking out there. But there is the little shuttle. So this is going to be the gun piece. This can attach underneath the ship, which I'll show off in a minute. But basically this piece flips around like so. And then the handle pops out underneath here, which can be kind of a pain. But there you go. There's the gun. Now you do have these extra pieces as well. These can attach to the side of the ship. I think these are... I'm trying to tell. Are they actually... I think they're completely painted silver plastic. Because at one point I saw some of the paint coming off already. I can't remember. I think it was on one of the clips. Yeah, maybe right there. But they have a little bit of red paint on the side. They look nice. They can clip onto the side of the larger ship, which I'll show off later. But also for the gun, they clip on like this. You can see the 2 clips right there. So it would clip on like this for the gun. If you want to do like the booster for the shuttle, you can actually close this up and then clip them on this way. So they kind of clip on like so. So you can see that they're hollow underneath. So basically in the gun, you would have the not hollow, like full piece facing up. For the booster for the shuttle, you have, you know, basically whichever way you're going to configure it. The gun, this side goes up. For the booster, this side goes up. So you would have to switch the little rockets on the side. But there's a little peg right there, and you can peg it in right here. And then this pegs on like so. And then you can kind of do like in that first episode where we saw them leaving Earth and they're in the shuttle. And this is the booster for the shuttle. So this is the extra power to get the shuttle to leave the atmosphere. So that's kind of cool. And then if you want, you can flip this around and we will peg this. Actually, I'll take these off because these go on the side of the ship. So we'll get this ready for the ship in a moment. We have the sword. The sword is massive. This is really impressive. It's a harder plastic than I was expecting. I actually thought this would be a little bit rubberier. Yeah, there we go. So it's a little rubbery, but it's not as rubbery as I expected. You know, the hilt is solid. Some nice paint here. The handle's nice. And yeah, pretty good there. Now we have these hand options. It comes with these closed fists attached. I've already swapped them out for like the grasping hands. But then you also get this like completely open set of hands. So I'm probably not going to switch these out, but it's very simple. It's just there's a ball joint and then you just pop these on. I'll show you one later on. We'll get to that, but let me put all this stuff off to the side and we will get ready to check out the ship. So the ship looks pretty good. A lot of chrome here in the front, which is very nice. You can see here on the front of the ship what will be the robot toes. Here, this is kind of like the robot's ankles. Some down here for what will be the robot's shoulders. Spinning it around here, some nice paint, more chrome over here for what will be the thighs. You can see what I mean with the hands just sitting here on the back. That's just how that goes. And then you have some really nice chrome here on top. Now there is a spot in here that this lifts up like so, and you can see them inside. It is ridiculously tiny. It's probably not. There you go. You can kind of see them in there. So they are piloting the ship inside there. It's really, really astronomically tiny. See what I did there? But yeah, it looks pretty good. These little cannons on the top can swivel. These can move if you'd like to put these at more of like a 45-degree angle or something. It does have wheels right here on the bottom, so it can roll. But overall, it looks really nice. I really like the look of it. Color scheme's great, very faithful to the show. Chrome's nice. Like I said, roll's nice. It's not really too much to show else. The shield is underneath the ship. Mine's having trouble pegging in all the time, but it is there. And you can take the gun and peg that into the hole here on the shield, like so. And then you can have that underneath if you like. These little guys are supposed to peg into these clips here. So if we pop these on like so, and there we go. And then the last thing we need to do is put the shuttle inside here. So what we're going to do, it might have been easier to do that before I put the gun on, but we'll see. Maybe we can do it. You want to kind of move these off to the side just so they don't get in the way. And then you're going to unclip this section here. The very front has a clip. And then you're just going to bring these all the way out like that. Now, in the packaging, when you first take this out, these are folded up. These are only for robot mode because it fills in that gap. When you're putting the shuttle in, you have to make sure that these are down. So it does come packaged with these up. So you have to make sure to push these down or else this isn't going to work. You can see that there are 2 pegs right here and there are 2 peg holes right there. So you're just going to bring this in and peg that on right there. And then, whoops, this clip popped out. There we go. And then we're just going to close this up. And you have to be careful because this is another thing. So this piece here, you have to make sure that this stays above this. So I recommend kind of holding this up as you start this. And then once it's started, you can kind of finish it off like. But there we go. That'll close around that. And then you can clip it back together. And there you go. The shuttle is inside the docking bay. You can put these back forward. You have these little boosters on the side. The gun is underneath. So pretty much everything stores on the ship except the massive sword and your extra hand options. So you're going to have to just keep them off to the side or put them back in the box or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty big. It rolls very nicely. I'm trying to see what would be a good comparison. Let's have fun. Here is Shattered Glass Grimlock next to the ship just for a size comparison. He is obviously taller than it, but it is very wide. So, just to give you some idea of how big it is. But yeah, it's nice. I like the ship mode, especially all decked out with everything. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the transformation. It's crazy. So I may have to adjust the camera as I go. This thing's very tall by the time you're done. The first thing I've done is taken the boosters off the side and the gun from the bottom, and I've just gone ahead and pegged them onto the side here. This was already flipped out, and then I just flipped out the handle. So now the gun is fully formed and done, so we can put that off to the side. The next thing we're going to do is flip this around and come around to the bottom here, and we're going to utilize the butterfly joints to just kind of pop these arms out to the side so that we can get at the shield here. And you just kind of lightly tug at it, and it should fall right off. But that's the shield. We'll put that off to the side, and then you can close these back up. So then we're going to come to this front section here, rotate the guns to the side again because we're going to have to open this up, and bring these all the way back around. And you have to be careful because sometimes this little piece right here gets hung up on the little fin here. So bring this around. We can go ahead and unpeg this. And we'll put this off to the side. But these little fins here on the side sometimes get hung up on these little pieces in here. So just be careful of that. So there's a little clip here that you can fold in. So that way it doesn't make the foot uneven, which is nice. And then these pieces here, like I showed earlier, are going to flip up to fill in the back of the foot so that that doesn't look empty. So that's nice. Make sure that these are clipped in as much as possible. There we go. So that's out all the way to the side. The next thing we're going to do, this gets a little tricky, I'll be honest, but you're going to lift these up, these flaps here, because we have to unclip everything and bring the legs down. So before we did this tilted this way, now we want to grab a hold of this whole bottom section and pop this out. And these are the fabled broken clips that everyone's having trouble with. We'll see how mine fare when I get this leg out of here. So once you unhook this back part, this is going to clip away from the side. And then you want to kind of bring this down. But the tricky part is this piece has to rotate around, but there's a lot of clearance stuff going on. So kind of bring this out to the side, and then I think that's as far down as this piece will go. And then you have to kind of rotate it, but you have to make sure like this isn't 100% in the way. So maybe if I bring it down like this, and then this has to, I'm trying to figure out a great way to do this, and I still have not really found one, but this needs to rotate. There we go. It's just kind of hard to grab a hold of just this piece, but, and then you've got problems here. Let me move this. Bring this down. There we go. Once you get it about halfway, like once you get to here, it's not a big deal, because then you can bring this back in and then use this leverage to move this down and rotate this around, and then you can put this back down, and then this is going to fold over and become kind of the side skirt over there. So I'm going to repeat the process with this one, and then I'll recenter the camera because he'll be standing up at that point. So in my opinion, getting those like hip pieces around is easily the hardest part of the transformation. But I also wanted to show you guys the clip problem that everyone's having. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this that well, but this is the clip that the under part, like the arm, was pegged into underneath. And I think it's already got some stress marks. It's going to be impossible to see. But inside there, the one clip, this one's not as bad. But you can see, there you go. There's the stress marks you can see. I've transformed this like maybe twice. Honestly, I feel like it came that way, because I don't really feel like clipping in and out of this is that much stress. It's not like it clicks in and it's so tight that it's a problem. It kind of just like sits in there, and then you kind of just like pop it out. But so I don't know if they came stressed, like maybe they came out of the factory really tight and they had to stress them, you know, subtly to make them not be a problem. So maybe they came that way. I'm honestly not sure. Or maybe mine's just been bumming around the factory so long that it's already kind of stressed. I don't know. But there's some nice chrome here. So basically, we have the arms here that are going to swivel around and sit in these little spots right here. And it's kind of funny, he's very back heavy right now. But this will pop around and fix that problem. And then these just kind of sit in. So again, you have those butterfly joints even after they pop in. You're going to press down on these, and they will reveal the bicep area. There you go. So we're pretty much done at this point. I want to kind of, there we go, see if we can get them a little bit more pitching forward instead of falling backwards. So we're going to take the ship. This section here is going to rotate back. This section here, I'm trying to not block the lighting, but this is going to rotate up. There's a little peg right there, which is going to sit into this peg here on the top of the head, like so. And then this is going to drop back even further, like this. And this gets a little weird, but so you can see that there's kind of like a channel for this big blue section to sit in. And there's obviously a square peg right there for this. So you kind of have to drop this in under the front lip and then bring this down. And then these two gray pegs will peg in here on the back. So this will kind of just come down and they will pop on there. And there you go. There is the Astro Megaship. He is a very big boy. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to rotate the fists around, which is very simple to do. But yeah, he's definitely a big boy. He's very, very huge. Really nice and clean on the back. No kibble or anything like that. I kind of like having this peg into the back. And again, that's very accurate to the original toy and the show. You can even, let me see if I can actually come down here to the legs. He's got these little cannons here on the side. You can kind of angle them however you want. Now, one thing you do have to do, and it's not in the directions, but you can pull the feet. And it's kind of hard to do because the silver piece here wants to continuously move. So maybe I'll, oh, I don't want to put too much pressure on that, but let me bring this down. You can pull the feet out. And by doing so, you will reveal a ball joint. Now, it's not the most articulated ball joint, but it gives you a little bit of movement. And this way he can have some slight ankle tilt. So again, it's not in the directions, but this will allow us to have him kind of in a more natural pose. Let me see, I'll bring him forward. It's a very subtle amount of ankle tilt. Honestly, it's not a lot, and it's kind of a bummer, but we can get him looking a little bit less stiff, which is nice. So I'll run through the articulation real quick. So the head's kind of on a ball joint. Unfortunately, every time I try to move the head, that happens more often than not, but you can kind of tilt down a little bit, tilt up a little bit. Mostly you're just going to get head swivel side to side. You can rock a little bit side to side, but it's mostly just for kind of looking side to side. You do have a really nice ratchet in the shoulder. Again, you have that butterfly joint. His shoulders are a little weird in the way that he doesn't have like a traditional bicep swivel. So he's got this little joint here that really can only click out to the side about that much. So that's a little weird, but you do have an elbow joint there, and then you have a swivel below the elbow joint. But every time I try to use that swivel, all I end up doing is invoking the butterfly joint. So it's a little weird, but at least you can kind of get him a little bit out to the side again, just so he's not looking so stiff. And then these are on ball joints, and basically if you ever want to switch these out, you just pull them until they pop off, which they can be a little stubborn sometimes. But so it's just a little ball joint like that, and then you just pop this on. And the hands are kind of, I don't want to say a rubbery consistency, but certainly more rubbery compared to the rest of the plastic on this thing. So they have a little bit of give, but you can kind of move them around. Certainly swivel side to side, get a little bit of ball joint movement out of them. Now this is really cool. He's got like an ab crunch. And I think that is the coolest thing. It's very subtle, but it's really cool. I like it a lot. He's got a waist swivel here, which is great. You saw what the hips can do for the transformation. If you want to utilize them in robot mode, you kind of have to get this stuff out of the way. But you can kick pretty far forward. Can't really kick back at all because of the butt skirt, but you can kick pretty decently out to the side. Not a ton of range of motion there. You have a thigh swivel here, as you can see, which is a nice tight ratchet. You have pretty much, if I move this out, yeah, I would say pretty much 90 degrees there in the knee. And then, like I said, you have this kind of barely usable ankle joint if you pull those out. So that is something that, like I said, it's weird the directions don't show it, but you absolutely can do it. And the problem for me is because of these joints here, when you try to move the feet, like these are constantly, like I wish this kind of went up into place and kind of locked in. I don't really know how you would do it, but it would be nice if it would stop kind of moving around while I'm trying to utilize, because see, he's very kind of pitched backwards and I don't want that. So maybe I can try to distribute the weight this way with those ball joints. But he looks good. Honestly, in robot mode, he looks good. And again, just for a size comparison, here is Shattered Glass Leader Class Grimlock. You can see that he basically comes up to his waist. He's about half the size. So this is definitely a big boy. Alright, so let's talk accessories. As we showed off before, we have the gun. You can go ahead and pop this into his hand pretty simply. The funny thing is with the grasping hands, they're kind of tighter than they need to be, but they are a little rubbery, so you can kind of pry them open a little bit if you need to. But the gun, I think, fits into his hand as easy as anything, and you can just pop that in. You can't really push it all the way in because it is going to hit into the forearm here. But there he is with the gun. I think that looks pretty cool. We can rotate this up. Oh, again, the head's trying to move on me. Let me bring this down. There we go. I like that. Okay, so there you go. There he is wielding the gun. I think that's really cool. I like the look of that. He's also got the sword, so we'll take the gun out of his hand. The sword, I feel like, is very difficult to get into his hand, and that's where you kind of have to play with the rubbery plastic of the hand to kind of stretch it out a little bit. But there he is wielding the sword. I love the look of the sword. I mean, it is absolutely massive. That is just really, really quite huge. And then, of course, with his sword, he needs the shield. So you take this piece and you kind of slide it around, and it will kind of click into place when it can fill that space. And then you just pull this piece out. Now, they say that you can take the clip here and clip it onto the wheel, and you can, but the wheel still moves. And so it kind of like moves back and forth. And also it's very difficult to get off of the wheel. And I really don't want to break that clip because I need it to peg into the underneath part of the ship. So I don't bother with it. But it can clip on to the wheel here using these two pieces. But I just flip out this whole piece and then you can pop this into his hand. Now I think this is the thing that he has the hardest time holding. It's really kind of difficult to get this in here. It's kind of annoying. I don't really know why they did it this way, but whatever, good enough. So now we have the sword and the shield, and he's looking great. I really like that. So I love all of his weapons. I love the sword. I love the shield. I think the gun looks great as well. And just all in all, he looks really, really sharp. I mean, that sword is just absolutely massive, and I really love that. So at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with this, especially getting it for 35% off. For around $100, I think this thing is definitely worth it. It's huge. It's definitely a really nice size. It's got pretty good articulation. I love the accessories. I think the sword, shield, and the gun look phenomenal. You get the extra hand pieces. I don't really care that much about them. I'm probably going to leave them with the grasping hands all the time because I want them holding the sword and the shield. You get the little tiny versions of the Rangers. I don't really care about them either. I mean, I can't imagine they drove the price up too much, so they're included. Okay, whatever. I do like the ones that are inside the chest and the head. I think it's kind of fun to look inside and see them piloting it. That I do appreciate. There's a nice amount of chrome on this thing. The only really thing to be wary of with this is those clips on the inside of the legs. You know, when you're connecting the arms in the ship mode, they might eventually break. I don't think it will be a huge issue. I think they'll probably still fit in. they might droop a little bit over time. I don't know. Luckily, knock on wood, I haven't broken them yet. I'm sure it's only a matter of time. But if you're just going to display this thing in robot mode, I think it looks very impressive. It's nice and big. It looks great. It has good articulation. I wish it had better ankle tilt. I mean, at least we got some, because at first I thought it had 0. And I kind of was like looking at it and inspecting it, and I kind of figured out that you have to pull the legs down to access it because it's not in the directions, which is very strange. But yeah, overall, I think this thing's a lot of fun. If you can get it on sale, I think it's cool. Like I said, the clips are a problem. The fact that it's kind of hard to get some of the accessories into the hands, I think, is an unnecessary problem. And I wish it had better ankle tilt. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with it. I was really surprised by the ab crunch. I appreciate that. The waist swivel's nice. All the paint applications and everything are pretty good. Overall, I think it's definitely a good time. Just be wary of a few issues because it's not perfect. So if you can get past the few issues, I think there's definitely a good time to be had here. And if you're just going to display it like this, I think it makes an excellent display piece. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thank you so much for watching.